Hello, Commanders fans. Today, we have some hot news you can't miss, so get ready because there's a lot of important information coming your way. Before we begin, we'd like to subscribe to the channel, activate the bell, and stay up to date with all the latest news about our Washington Commanders. Don't forget to leave a like, which really strengthens our community and helps bring this content to the team's most passionate fans. Now, without further ado, let's get straight to today's news. A statistic suggests Jakori Merritt was an elite ball carrier in 2025. The Washington Commanders' offense has been fluid this year. Injuries to Jaden Daniels and Austin Ekeler drastically impacted the unit's flow during the first month of the season, paving the way for new faces to contribute significantly in 2025. One such name was rookie RB Jakori Merritt, who produced impressive stat lines in the first 4 games of his NFL career. Jakori Merritt is PFF's highest-graded rusher through the first 4 weeks of the 2025 NFL season. Going into the 2025 NFL season, Commanders' RB Jakori Merritt was being touted as a potential breakout candidate for Washington's offense behind a revamped defensive line. Well, one statistic that suggests he's delivering on his promise is his 90.6 grade from Pro Football Focus, the highest grade of any player who played the ball in the first month of the 2025 NFL season. For context, the next 4 best rushers are Najee Harris, James Cook, Cam Skidebo, and Kenneth Walker III. Of those players, Merritt only had more carries than Harris, who suffered a season-ending Achilles injury in Week 3 against the Denver Broncos. Merritt's season numbers aren't impressive. Just 172 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on just 29 carries. However, his 5.93 yards per carry puts him behind only Travis Etienne among players with more than 15 carries this season. Merritt's 3.97 yards after contact per attempt is slightly behind Indianapolis Colts RB Jonathan Taylor, who is among the NFL's top ball carriers this season. These numbers don't necessarily mean Merritt is the league's best rusher, but they make a strong case for an expanded role in this offense going forward. Should Jakori Merritt see a lot more work in the Commanders' offense going forward? Pro Football Focus Nathan Jahnke took to X to post the current status of the Commanders' backfield following their 34-27 loss to the Atlanta Falcons. Commanders received concerning update on DE Javvante Jean-Baptiste's injury. The Washington Commanders failed to maintain their Week 3 momentum, suffering a 34-27 loss to the Atlanta Falcons on Sunday afternoon. As if injuries weren't already a big enough problem for the team, they suffered another blow when defensive lineman Javvante Jean-Baptiste was forced out of the game early. A 7th-round pick in the 2024 NFL Draft, Jean-Baptiste became a key part of the Commanders' defensive line heading into the new season. However, his campaign may already be over, as the team fears the talented second-year defender may have suffered a season-ending injury in the Week 4 loss. Commanders fear Javvante Jean-Baptiste has torn pectoral muscle. Injuries have played a significant role in the start of the Commanders' 2025 season. Starting quarterback Jaden Daniels missed his second game on Sunday, while wide receivers Terry McLaurin and Noah Brown were also forced to miss the game. Key veterans like Austin Ekeler and Dietrich Wise Jr. have already suffered season-ending injuries, with Jonathan Jones joining them on injured reserve, though his return is expected this year. While Washington managed a win over the Las Vegas Raiders in Week 3, their injury problems became overwhelming against the Falcons. With several key players out, they struggled to move the ball consistently, but ultimately, that didn't matter as the defense couldn't stop Atlanta's offense. Now, the team has to worry about another injury involving Jean-Baptiste, who has taken on a more prominent role in Wise's absence. Jean-Baptiste was diagnosed with a pectoral injury, and according to a recent report, the team is concerned he may have suffered a torn pectoral, which would end his season. Commanders DE Javvante Jean-Baptiste will undergo an MRI in Northern Virginia, but the team fears he tore his pectoral in today's loss in Atlanta, according to a source, reported Nikki Jabvala of The Athletic in a post on X. Commanders hope for good news on Javvante Jean-Baptiste's injury. Washington's defensive line is already shorthanded, so losing Jean-Baptiste for the rest of the season would be devastating. If he is forced to miss time, overall, Preston Smith and Jalen Holmes would be tasked with taking on more important roles, and it's possible the front office will also look for outside options. The Commanders will wait for an official diagnosis on Jean-Baptiste before taking any action, but it appears he will miss some time one way or another. Terry McLaurin injury update. Will fantasy managers have the Commanders' WR1 back this week? The Washington Commanders continue to deal with a complex injury situation with their star wide receiver following his departure 2 weeks ago. Terry McLaurin has been sidelined since suffering what was initially described as a quadriceps injury, but the situation has proven more complicated than initially thought. For fantasy managers awaiting his return, what's the latest on his situation? Terry McLaurin injury update. McLaurin was injured in Week 3, and the injury was initially described as a quadriceps issue. However, the severity of the injury became more concerning when he sought consultation with a core specialist, raising questions about the true nature of his condition. Initial concern about the severity of the injury was evident when head coach Dan Quinn had to clarify that McLaurin would not be placed on the injured list, suggesting the injury was serious enough that IR was being discussed internally. McLaurin did not practice last week and has been ruled out for the Week 4 game against Atlanta. Monday brought encouraging news when Quinn provided an update stating that McLaurin was on an upward trend. This represents a promising initial report on his recovery progress and suggests his health is trending in the right direction. However, this positive development does not mean McLaurin is guaranteed to play in Week 5 against the Los Angeles Chargers. The upward trend comment suggests he will likely return in Week 6, if not sooner, but his availability for this week remains uncertain. Wednesday's practice report will be crucial in determining his standing in Week 5. Fantasy managers should expect McLaurin to participate in at least one limited session, which would indicate significant progress toward his return to action. McLaurin's fantasy outlook. It's difficult to evaluate the Commanders' offense without Jaden Daniels, although the quarterback is expected to return this week after missing Weeks 3 and 4 with a knee injury. His return should shed more light on the team's offensive capabilities going forward. Deebo Samuel Sr. has emerged as the clear WR1 in Washington's passing attack during McLaurin's absence. The only other pass catcher with any fantasy relevance is tight end Zach Ertz, who has maintained a consistent target volume throughout the season. There is no viable internal replacement for McLaurin from a fantasy perspective. The depth receivers have not demonstrated the ability to consistently produce fantasy-relevant numbers, making McLaurin's absence a significant blow to the team's overall passing game production.